love, you're listening to the Died on Ashanta podcast. I'm a resilience strategist and migrant integration specialist who has spent the last 20 years traveling, working, and studying throughout the Caribbean, North America, Europe, Africa, and Asia. As a globetrotter, I quickly learned how to bounce back from crisis and how to thrive in new and strange places. I've used my training and experience to develop a resilience-based framework, and now I help others to get over the hurdles that come with living in a foreign country. Now on this podcast, I invite you to join me on this journey of living with simplicity, joy, and resiliency. From green smoothies to goal setting, we'll cover it all. We'll talk about all the things that help us to thrive through the storm. Welcome to the Died on Ashanta podcast. This is episode 10, and today we are talking about authenticity. Now, of course, this week we are focusing on mental resilience, and if you haven't noticed as yet, May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and if you've looked into it, some researchers have come to the conclusion that your level of authenticity is a major predictor of your mental health. So I hope that what we'll be talking about this week, you'll be able to sift through and find something that you can apply to your life as we look into how the habits we cultivate and the way we simplify our lives can increase our joy and build and sustain a lot of resilience in our lives. Now, you may probably use the word authenticity or talk about something being authentic a lot, but never really sat and thought about what does it mean to be authentic. Now, straight up and to be very simple, something that's authentic is not false or copied. It's not a counterfeit. It's not a knockoff. It's not imitation. Something that's authentic, someone who is authentic is genuine. They are real. They're being true to themselves. And back home in Jamaica, we would say they are article. Somebody who is article or authentic is someone who is genuine. They are a person of integrity. What you see is what you get, and they don't change like the weather. Now, the opposite in my mind of being authentic is being a people pleaser or pretending or denying who you really are, self-denial. And so when we think about authenticity, we're thinking about how it is that we can be true to ourselves versus trying to fit in. And of course, I talk a lot about social integration and how migrant workers, migrant students can move to a new country, get involved in a new culture, and find their way to integrate, to be relevant, feel welcome in a new and strange place. But that's not the kind of fitting in we're talking about. We're talking about where you try to be like a chameleon, where you just blend in and no one can distinguish you from others around you. Now, I will give you 3 quick, I'd say, rules or guidelines for staying true to yourself. And at the very core, the foundation of being authentic is knowing yourself. If you don't know yourself, you can't be true to yourself. Number 2 would be to express yourself. So knowing who you are, but not allowing the world to experience who you are, is being inauthentic. So number 2 is express yourself. Let the world know who you are and how you are going to show up and the mark you're going to leave. And then third guideline for being authentic is protect yourself. This means not allowing others to damage the core parts of who you are, to break or bend or disguise or misshape who you are and how you show up. I'm sure everyone can think of someone they know, maybe even yourself, who allowed other people to break their spirit, or to change the way they laughed, or to change the way they walk, or to change the way they write or draw a picture or sing, whatever it is. Someone has demeaned you and berated you, and you decided to switch things up, and so you didn't protect yourself, and that caused you to become a people pleaser and not be authentic. Now, when we want to dig further into what it means to know yourself, then it requires introspection, not just once in a while, but regularly. To introspect means to question your motives. And so if you regularly stop and ask yourself, I mean, maybe at the end of the day, you ask yourself, okay, such and such happened today. Why did I respond this way? Or why did I say this to the individual when they did that? What did I mean? What was I hoping to get out of the situation? Question your motives. By questioning your motives, you get to figure out what drives you, what scares you, what makes you feel confident, and that will help you to better know who you are. Another way to know yourself is self-assessment. What are your likes? What are your dislikes? Don't just eat something or choose an outfit or sign up for a program or take a job because someone else tells you. What do you like? What do you dislike? And what are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? Life can be really rough and painful if you're doing something just because everyone else or people you want to please or you want to admire or like you tell you to do it, or they are doing it. So be very careful about making regular self-assessment to check in with yourself and find out, what do I really like, what are really my strengths, and what are my areas of weakness. The third way to truly know yourself is exploration, and this is a beautiful part. And for everyone who hops on a plane, a ship, any mode of transportation to move from their hometown to somewhere else knows what it is to explore. And so exploration means that you are going to go after new experiences, try out new hobbies, explore new training, learn, get new skills, that become an expert in new subjects, meet new people, interact with new languages, explore, find out what else is there in the world. If you don't try something new, you won't be able to tell if you like it or you dislike it. If you don't try out a new sport or a new art or a new musical instrument, how will you know if it's something that you're strong at or something that you're not too good at? So always try to explore, because you never know who you are until you get into a new situation, right? So those are the three: introspection, self-assessment, and exploration. Now, another thing that I would really encourage you to do as you try to express yourself and also protect yourself as you interact with people and try new experiences and just seeing what's out there in the world is keep certain, you'd say, guiding principles for how you show up in the world as you try to express yourself authentically. Always speak the truth. Always speak the truth. Recently, I was in a meeting, and the person chairing the meeting, who's someone I report to, asked, okay, Darren, are you ready to go? And I stuttered for a bit because I was still trying to gather my thoughts and my notes to share what I had to share. And I just said no. And I remember my colleagues were kind of surprised, I guess, that I said no, but I wasn't ready. So I said no. And it was totally fine. Other persons got to share, and then it came back around and I got to share. And I shared in a way that I was confident because I'd gathered my thoughts, I had my notes together, and I was able to deliver what I had to say in a way that I felt comfortable. So it doesn't matter what situation you're in, speak the truth. And there's a rule I give in my home for my children, and they know the number one rule is always ask. If you're in a situation and you're not quite sure what is happening, what someone wants, how something is supposed to work, what is being expected of you, always always ask. Don't go off assumptions. Try to find out, because you may be heading down a cliff or in the wrong direction, and you could avoid a lot of mistakes and drama simply by asking. Another way to ensure that you're authentic as you express and protect yourself is to accept flaws that you discover, whether in yourself or others, as the truth. Accept those flaws as the truth. Sometimes you are interacting with someone and they do something that you don't like, and this goes back to your self-assessment. You dislike a particular kind of behavior, but you tell yourself, no, it's just because of the stress or this particular situation, or you give yourself a reason and you ignore those flaws. And you decide to continue to interact with the person the same way. What you're doing there is not being true to yourself, because the behavior displeases you or offends you. But instead of speaking the truth and letting the person know, I don't appreciate this, I prefer if people deal with me in this manner, or if they speak to me in this way, then you squash who you are. You pretend that it doesn't bother you. And so you are not expressing yourself. You begin to cover up who you really are, your likes and your dislikes, your points of triggers, and certain maybe the traumas that you have. And what this does is exposes you to, you'd say, repeated encounters with the same undesired behavior or encounters or interactions. So be very careful about accepting what you see from others. It could be a food. You taste something and your throat feels scratchy, but you don't say anything, and then one day you end up in the emergency room with an allergic reaction. Why? Because you didn't speak the truth. You didn't acknowledge how the particular food impacted you, and then you end up hurting yourself. So a part of authenticity is knowing who you are, expressing that with boldness, kindness of course, but with boldness. And this is a way of protecting yourself. And overall, live with intention. Don't just go blowing with every wind that comes your direction. So if people say, oh, we're going to do this, then you just go along with it. And you don't check in with yourself to say, why am I doing this? Is this what I want to do, or do I want to do something else? Live with intention. Every decision you make as you go day after day in your life, decide what it is you want, why it is you want it, and live with intention. The more we try to live with intention is the more authentic we are. When you are living with intention, you have to constantly check in and know yourself. You will be forced to express yourself in the realest and most genuine way. And of course, you will always do what is necessary to protect yourself. So those are my little tips and notes for you about authenticity and protecting your mental resilience, defending and building and sustaining your mental resilience so you can live a joyful yet simple life. And so as we continue through the next few days of Mental Health Awareness Month, May, I hope that you will make a bigger effort to show up more authentically as you go through life. And of course, I am going to share this week's African proverb, which is a Hausa proverb, and it says, the twig that falls in the water will never become a fish. And if you're looking for some reading materials to enhance your understanding of authenticity, I highly recommend clinical psychologist Dr. Thema Bryan's book, Homecoming: Overcome Fear and Trauma to Reclaim Your Whole Authentic Self. From me to you, have a fabulous week. I'm always pleased to get feedback from you. Please let me know how this message on authenticity hit you or if it hugged you, and what you'd like to hear from me next time. So until then, do enjoy the rest of your week. Thanks so much for listening, love. If you enjoyed this episode, head over to didanashanta.com. I'd love to hear your thoughts on today's message. Be sure to drop your email address so I can send you some helpful resources, updates, and the occasional music video that I may have on repeat. Make sure you subscribe and spread the love with someone you care about.